Very warm welcome to all of you today. Those who are just joining, I have just mentioned that today's session is being recorded and will be hosted on the Ollie Foundation's YouTube channel and be sent to wider professionals that weren't able to make today's session. So if you're happy for your cameras to be on, you're more than welcome for them to be on. But if not, then please do keep yourself having your camera off if you don't want to be put on there. So thank you so much for joining today's leadership event. We're very, very grateful to the Ollie Foundation for providing a platform to us to support in raising awareness of two very valuable resources to support our Hertfordshire communities and wider than Hertfordshire as well. My name is Kennedy Taylor and I work for Public Health Hertfordshire, and my work focuses on mental health and suicide prevention for children and young people. And I'm very, very proud to be presenting these resources to you today and sharing information about some of the incredible services, providers and further resources that we have available in Hertfordshire. Also, I just had a pop-up of people joining us. Welcome to those joining us. For today's leadership event, you'll see reference on the slides to CYP. We're just talking about children and young people when you see that reference, and hopefully the information is going to be suitable for you to look at for your young people you work with, staff around you, parents and carers, and wider for adults as well. And if you do have any questions, please do utilise the chat function. There'll be some dedicated time at the end of my presentation for me to answer them for you. And I'd be more than happy to continue any further conversations following this. If we don't get through them all, or if you just wanted to take something offline with me as well, I'm more than happy to do that. And I'll provide my email address at the end for you to be able to contact. So just to give you a little bit of background of where did all of this start. So at the end of 2023, we were becoming more aware of accumulating reports, data and information surrounding suicide and children and young people. And we know that children and young people are one of the fastest increasing ages for both attempts and death by suicide nationally. And locally, we were hearing of, seeing of, having reported to us a high level of children and young people who attempt suicide. That's reported via the police, via schools, seeing the increases from their young people, as well as parents and carers as well. So this led to me looking into the supports that are available to education settings in Hertfordshire following incidents around suicide, whether it was an attempt or a death, and what they had in place, what they were aware of, and what maybe some of the gaps were. And this led to me finding some notable gaps, particularly from an access point of view, of where to find the information of what is available in a timely manner. So schools reported that they would have a service email them about information at one point. They might have another sending through a leaflet at the start of the year, and then something else hosted on a different website. So it was quite hard for them to access what they needed, particularly if it was in a heightened state following an incident. And it'd be quite challenging for them to remember where to look, who sent what through to them, for example. And we are very, very lucky in Hertfordshire that there are a lot of services, providers and organisations that support the mental health and wellbeing of children and young people. But it is very confusing to know where to find that information in the first place, how to refer, what needs to be done, for example. So this is where the Readiness Pack began. I worked in partnership with system professionals, schools and voluntary sector organisations to pull together information regarding the services and supports and guidance for prevention and postvention to support the whole community within a school or education setting, and have it in one central place so it's easy to find, easy to access, and hopefully that would ensure a more timely support for mental health prevention, as well as those impacted by incidents as well. And although this stemmed from our children and young people's focus, you're going to see as I go through the pack and explain to you its uses that actually it covers the whole community, which includes staff and parents and carers as well. So on World Suicide Prevention Day last year, we launched the Readiness Pack. You might have seen this visual before, you might not have, but this is what the front cover of the pack looks like. This is live and is hosted on the Hertfordshire Grid for Learning. And as you can see, there is a QR code on the front of this pack so that we can make sure we keep this updated as provisions change. So if it is downloaded, you can always scan the QR code to make sure you've got the most up-to-date version. Because for example, we've already done an update just recently in April to reflect some changes in our local commission services. So I'm now going to take you through the pack to share with you what it covers and how it can be utilised to best support you throughout your whole academic year. So first of all, looking at the contents, the pack covers and tries to keep everything in one place, from information regarding suicide attempt support, death by suicide support, template communication letters for you to share with the appropriate people around incidents, safety plan templates, staff wellbeing, parent and carer support, staff training, and also some wider or further Hertfordshire resources that can be useful to you to be aware of and to be promoting in your settings. So it covers a lot, but it is broken down into those sections to make it easier for you to navigate the document and utilise to the best of your needs. So when looking at the support section of the pack of what is available in particular incidences, we've broken it down into two sections of what is available following an attempt compared to what is available following an unfortunate incident of a death. So these sections start with a visual or a flow chart, which you can see on the screen right now, just to show a very brief breakdown of what is available. And then the subsequent pages following further detail those services with things like contact information, web links, and all of it is interactive from the pack. So if you notice from there's a particular service that you want to signpost to, let's say, for example, right now it's contacting Sandbox, you would click on that word and it would literally take you through to their website for you to be able to access straight away. So we've done it to try and remove some of those barriers and make it as quick and easy as possible. So, for example, following an incident, a school can contact educational psychology. So you can see that at the top of the flowchart, who will work with the school, commonly senior leadership team, to look at the best way to navigate that particular incident. And they can also offer support to staff who are affected. And then Safe Space, which you can also see on there, could be contacted to provide critical incident support, to look at supporting the wellbeing of students who have been impacted by that particular situation. And from a lot of our discussions with schools, a lot were not aware that they were able to access these supports if the incident didn't happen to their student or their staff member, for example. So by us creating this pack and having it available for all settings to see, it means that hopefully everybody's got the information that they need and know that they can then make those referrals, make those phone calls to get the support if impacted by any incident around them in their community. So the next section of the pack covers communications. Unfortunately, some schools have already experienced different incidents, so already have their own communications available for them to utilise. But we have tried to create and provide almost a skeleton to just take some of that pressure away from our education settings if they experience a situation. So this can be just used as a template to be adapted to share the information as appropriate to staff and then also parents and carers following an incident, to try and stop, rumours or things spreading or hearing it from other places, rather than it being the most appropriate information that you're wanting to share in the most supportive and relevant way to support everybody. And then the next section that took quite a while to develop and is quite lengthy in the pack is a safety plan section. And there's numerous different safety plans and tools out there, which are all fantastic. And some of them we have referenced in this pack as well for individuals to populate and follow to support their own wellbeing. However, the feedback we had from schools was that they didn't feel that any of them were fully appropriate to use as one for supporting the young person in the education setting following an attempt they may have made. Sorry, excuse me. So we worked with schools to develop this into a tool that could work in the education environment, as one that is really about how do the education settings themselves then feel safe for this young person to come back into the education setting, but also for the young person to feel safe while they were in that environment as well. And the safety plan does include quite a few review sections to it, so that the school, the young person, the parent and carer, and any professional involved in their care continue to review that situation, adapt as needed, or have any changes to make sure that everyone continues to feel supported and safe while working together. So that's quite a lengthy part of the section of the pack, but is a really useful document for you to be able to download and utilise again as and when you need. And then, as I said, is followed by some recommendations for those more individual safety plan tools out there for young people to be able to use for their whole lives, not just for while they're in the education setting as well. And we know that children and young people are not the only ones who need support with their mental health. Staff wellbeing is absolutely paramount, but unfortunately is often neglected because the individuals that most people are working in education constantly want to put everybody else first, maybe push away from having to deal with their own struggles because they're so worried about supporting everybody else around them. And most of the time are also juggling multiple hats, which those education settings on the call today, I'm sure you're probably agreeing that yes, you wear multiple hats and are pulled from pillar to post constantly. So this section of the pack details the mental health and wellbeing support available for education staff, as well as services that specialise in support around suicide as well. And what we encourage is that this page can literally be lifted and printed out and put up in a staff room, for example, or added to your staff newsletters, just as a reminder of the mental wellbeing support that is available to staff. Listing to, for example, we've got the education support, HPFT talking therapies, and then ones that are focused a bit more around suicide as well. So we've got the Ollie Foundation and CHUMS as well for bereavement support. It doesn't just need to be used in the event of an incident to let people know that this is available. This is to be used as an all year round, reminding staff of what they can access if and when they need it for supporting their wellbeing. And similarly to this, we know the impact of parental mental health on children and young people and vice versa. And we're constantly hearing from our education settings about the increased pressure this is putting on the education setting because of maybe the parents' needs as well. But navigating supports can be confusing for adults just as it is for children and young people. So by again, as having this page dedicated to the support that's available for parents and carers, we're trying to encourage that schools would either copy and paste this or again lift it and add it into parent mail or communications, websites, however it is that you individually communicate with your parents and carers, to encourage them that there is support out there that if they need it, they can access, because they might not be aware of what is out there or even know where to start looking. And this can be really supportive to just give them that starting place to receive support in the first place. And this section of support concludes with the Children and Young People's Mental Health Service Directory. I know a lot of professionals on the call today would have seen this before, but this is a fantastic tool for all professionals working with young people. It's an interactive document that details all of the commissioned mental health services for children and young people in Hertfordshire, as well as a key on whether it is a in-person or digital service, and also a referral criteria using these colour dots down the side based on the level of need of the young person. And when you click on a service, it would take you directly to that the web page of that service for you to be able to make that referral, call them, or read up on more information for it as well. So it's great for you to use, again, at any time that you feel a young person in your setting might need support for their well-being, not just waiting till the point of crisis, for example, to help you make a referral based on their individual needs they're presenting with. And as you can see, this document again is QR coded to ensure that we're getting the most accurate service information. And again, this was updated in April to reflect some of the changes for our commissioned services in Hertfordshire as well. So again, a really, really great resource that's within this pack for you to be utilising year round. In Hertfordshire, we're very lucky to also have fully funded training available for education staff and wider professionals around children and young people's mental health and suicide prevention. For example, you can see the poster that's in the pack around Heart's Mind Network. They're commissioned to deliver children and young people specific Spot the Signs training. And we don't often in life get much for free. So I really try and encourage that it's important to take up these offers to help upskill staff and professionals to be more confident in what the Hertfordshire offers are, what provisions can we put in place, and how we can spot some of those signs earlier as a prevention mechanism to hopefully not need to get to the point of postvention. And you can see some listings there of wider training. So we deliver in Hertfordshire County Council via the Emotional Mental Wellbeing and Education team, mental health leads training for new mental health leads and those that have been there for a while and needing a refresher. There's youth mental health first aid training that's commissioned in Hertfordshire. The Ollie Foundation have a host of comprehensive training sessions available for education professionals to be able to access. And also the Hertfordshire Safeguarding Children's Partnership have a host of different topics that they deliver free training on as well. Sorry, I should say funded. It's not free. It does cost, just not at your expense. And then absolutely last but not least, we have recently just added a section around other useful resources. We know the world of mental health doesn't just cover one subject area, and at Herts County Council we have a host of resources that can be utilised to support the overall well-being and prevention as well. So for example, the Just Talk Hertfordshire is a children and young people's mental health movement. It's a partnership of over 40 different organisations working together to develop resources, signposting and provide information to tackle the needs of mental health needs of young people and provide that platform for well-needed youth voice. As well as also you will see on the screen, we have got information to highlight around a new carers resource for any carer working with or supporting a loved one around suicidal ideation or maybe after a suicide attempt as well. So this Readiness pack has already been downloaded by over 250 schools since launch, which is absolutely amazing. But we still need more schools to be aware of it and utilise it to ensure that our young people and communities are best supported. I can't stress enough that it's not just a document to sit and wait for an incident to happen. It's a great tool to be able to be used throughout the whole academic year, whether you're concerned about the well-being of an individual, and then you can look at the service to refer to, whether it's because you want to plan your staff training ahead, so you can go through this to look at what providers are available and contact them to get that, whether you want to work with partners to come in to deliver talks to your students in form time and assemblies, or even again to your staff. There's so many other ways that you can be utilising this. So we really are encouraging education settings to have this, inform their senior leadership around it, and make sure it's being used wider to support everybody as well. Now, following the success of the education pack, we realise it has multiple uses and it can benefit wider professionals than just education staff. So, for example, we're currently working with GPs in Hertfordshire to provide the pack to them so that they have wider awareness of what is available in schools and to individuals, to have that kind of consistent messaging and referral across the board so that young people are going to be getting the support they need at the time that they need it. And it's really important to us that wider professionals are aware of it to be able to support that. And we have now just developed and launched in April a community version of this pack to support our youth community groups. So you can see a slightly different version on the screen right now, a green document. And whether this is for youth clubs or grassroots sports groups, performing arts groups, this is the pack essentially aimed towards them. There is no stipulation for these organisations to have mental health training, and we know that they play a huge role in supporting the wellbeing of young people in our communities. So if and when a young person is struggling with their mental health, often these organisations do provide a lot of support to them, and if impacted by an incident, it can be profound and really difficult for them to be able to manage and support without guidance really being provided to them. So this pack has been developed to provide this, whether it's signposting for wellbeing support, or again, as a prevention mechanism, or knowing what is available post-incident as well. It's all in one place for them to access. And the content is similar, but you'll notice some noticeable differences here. So it starts with mental health and wellbeing services for young people, template communication letters, safety plan recommendations. We don't have a safety plan for them doing that sport, but it's more about the recommendations of what is available for that individual, staff and coach wellbeing, parent and carer support, staff training, who to contact in a crisis, and giving some recommendations of what process to follow here, as well as then having those wider Hertfordshire resources as well. And it's really key for us to try and get this pack out as wide as possible to our youth groups, to make sure that they've got this information to hand. Again, not to just be using for incidents, but make sure they're aware of these services and supports to use throughout the year. So when they are noticing any signs or symptoms that a young person is struggling, they can get that referral, they can get the information as early as they need it to help us in our prevention methods of trying to support our young people in Hertfordshire. So that brings me to the end of my presentation part of today. But before I go on to now looking at any questions, I just want to say a massive thank you to the Ollie Foundation for hosting today's leadership event. The Ollie Foundation are one of our partners on Just Talk, as well as a huge partner in our suicide prevention work that we do in Hertfordshire across children and young people and adults. So having this platform today to talk to all of you is really, really great. And also from this, the recording is going to be hosted on their YouTube, which means that we can reach so many more people. And although this talk today has been around Hertfordshire and the resources are about Hertfordshire specific services, we're hoping that it can reach further than that and encourage other areas to be able to use ours as almost a template and develop further resources to help and support their areas as well. So I'm going to just stop sharing my screen so that I can see any questions in the chat. And Debbie, I didn't know if you'd be happy to read any of those out for me.
Yes, of course. So I've put the links to the different resources in the chat. But we have a question about hairdressers and barbers. And Kennedy, I'm going to assume that all the information here is good for anybody to use. But if you want to address that question.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you for that question. We actually, one of our partners in Just Talk is called Chats and Cuts, which is an initiative for barbers and hairdressers. So I first of all recommend you even looking up that organisation to see how you may be able to work together to get their QR code in your salons, if you are in a salon, or maybe as an independent. All of these resources are available for anybody to be able to have a look at and be aware of. I think the community pack probably would be more appropriate for you to be able to have, but you could still look at what's available in education settings. So the green community pack would be the best one for you. It details everything that's available. A lot of the services in Hertfordshire, you don't have to be a professional to make a referral for if you were concerned about a young person, for example. So you can go on there and make referrals, or you could just highlight that organisation to a young person or their family. There is so much information in these packs that you'd be able to access, because we know that hairdressers, barbers are also kind of therapists. People open up without realizing when they're getting their hair done. It's not that eye-to-eye contact, for example. So we know that you play a big role in that. So yeah, definitely have a look at the community pack for you to be able to utilize as well. Hope that answered it for you.
Another question from Sarah Parkinson is, do you have any resources for young people who are affected by suicide in their family, or for a young parent who has a parent who is suicidal?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So within the pack, there is information around bereavement services. So if there is an individual who has experienced a suicide in their life, whether it's a family member, a friend, someone in their community, for example, there are commissioned bereavement services in Hertfordshire. So one of them is Chums. Then we have national ones as well in there that are highlighted. We also have organisations, if it's then impacting their mental health and maybe leading to subsequent suicidal ideation, for example. I'm making an assumption here, but that could be an incident. Then we have organisations that can support, like Hector's House. So there is reference to those organisations in the pack for you to be able to access and look at, so where they're all age services as well.
Do we have any other questions? Well, Ellie shares that a useful book for a family I worked with was Beyond the Rock by Winston's Wish. And I would actually encourage everyone in the room, there's so much knowledge here. So if there are any links, any books, any papers that you want to share with everyone in the room, please pop them in the chat. And we will collate all of that and send that out as part of our post-event email.
Definitely. And we have a lot of our organisations, although we might be referencing them for training, for example, their websites are just a host of knowledge, resources, information. So, for example, on our link to the Ollie Foundation, where we might be talking about training, if you actually go onto the Ollie Foundation's website, you'll be flooded with so much useful information that you could use for different settings. That would be the same as ones, for example, with Hector's House, with Heart's Mind Network. So although it might be being shown in context for one thing, their websites have so much further information for you to be able to access as well.
There's a question here about postvention specialist teams. Does such a thing exist? Can we refer our students? I know we have a representative, Sarah from Nessie here, and I see the school that asked this question is in North Herts. Maybe Sarah wants to add some things. We at the Ollie Foundation run a grief cafe for teens, but the question was specifically, is there a postvention specialist team that we can refer to?
Yeah, so I would say rather than it being called a postvention specialist team, we have professionals who are trained particularly in postvention support. So on page 7 of the Readiness pack, I'm pretty sure it's page 7, when we talk about the death by suicide support, there is a whole list of the different services that are trained in that support. And if you're an education setting, which I know you are from what Debbie's just said, when you would contact, for example, you contact Safe Space, they would then be able to take you through the information and referrals to that to get the organisations to work together. But you could also, if you have a mental health support team in your school, if your school is part of that scheme, they would then be able to support you in looking at who you could get in for it. But there is a whole list of the organisations that are trained in postvention support for young people on page so I'm pretty sure it is 7 of the Readiness pack for you to be able to have a look at.
Can I just add, and I think it would be really useful for both public health, Just Talk, and for charities like ourselves and Hector's House. So for the person that asked the question about the postvention specialist team, it'd be really lovely if you had a moment to share what you think that would look like. Because of course what's on offer might not be what you need, and it would be lovely to hear what the perfect postvention specialist team, if you have a vision for it, what would it be? I personally would love to know that.
Yeah, definitely. And also what's worth noting is a lot of the organisations we work with are really fantastic at being flexible to meet the needs. So although they might have a particular package already, or a particular training offer or support offer, often they can be very flexible to support the need of that individual incident, school, group, whatever that might be. So it's always worth reaching out to ask those questions. But as Debbie said, the more we know about, if you think there's a gap and you would like it to look a particular way, we can then take that information back to support the work of developing our services, developing the commissions out there, encouraging others to look at what they're doing. So yeah, please do follow up with that.
Now or later? Hello?
Is that a question?
Yes, sorry, I'm the person that asked the question about postvention. Do you want me to talk about that now, or do you want me to talk about that later?
It's totally up to you. You can pop it in the chat now, or if you think it's going to be a lengthy one, you can send an email to myself and to Debbie. I'll pop both of our contact details in the chat, and then the follow-up that goes out will make sure that all of our contact information is there for everybody who might have any questions.
Okay, all right, I'll put it in the chat then. All right.
Lovely, thank you. Is there anything else that's come through, Debbie, for me to answer?
Yes, thank you for this question, Faye. So important. Is there specialist support for learners with autism and/or SEND?
Okay, so all of our commissioned mental health services in Hertfordshire are classed as universal services, meaning that they are to support anyone, whether they have a neurodiversity or not. It's very important when making referrals for mental health support that it's made clear that although they might have XYZ neurodiversity or diagnosis, etc., their need is anxiety, their need is depression, they're experiencing grief, whatever that might be, to make sure that it's very clear that that's what the support is for. But all of our commissioned mental health services in Hertfordshire are able to support anybody. There are then some particular services that are directed to individuals with neurodiversities, which we can send out some links to as well in the follow-up. For example, we've got like the Sandbox has a separate side called the Toolbox, which is for individuals with neurodiversities. We have different workshops on things like Understanding that's for individuals with autism and ADHD. We have the Neurodiversity Support Hub, which is to support parents and carers with the needs of their young person's mental health and neurodiversity, and to ask different questions. And there are some specialist services wider within that as well. On the directory, the interactive children and young people's mental health service directory, there's a lot of information on there as well to help you with these referrals. But as I said, technically all of the services are universal to support everybody.
And Faye, just to add, I've popped a link in the chat. We've this talk will go on our YouTube channel, but there are 2 talks on there around autism and suicide risk. Both of them are with the incredible Lisa Toner Morgan, who is an expert in this field, and they might be useful for you to have a look at some point.
Definitely. I think also the Hertfordshire Mind Network Spot the Signs training that we mentioned earlier, they have now added a section in around different signs and symptoms to be aware of for individuals who are neurodiverse, particularly for those with autism, because we know often maybe language being used around suicidality might look different for individuals with different neurodiversities, which previously maybe wasn't being considered in some trainings or some awareness nationally, not even just for us locally. So please do also check out that training if you're not already having a look at it, because that can then give you some more information around some different signs and symptoms to be aware of depending on the young people you work with.
There aren't any more questions, although people are connecting and sharing information, which is wonderful. Les has to leave, but says very informative. Faye Wood's going to look at all the training links. The links to both the resources that Kennedy has been sharing is a little higher up in the feed if you want to look at it, but we will send those links out to you in the post-event email.
Thank you so much, everybody, for taking your time today for joining us. I hope it's been useful for you. And if you do have any further questions, please feel free to contact myself or Debbie. And again, massive thank you, Debbie and the Ollie Foundation, for today's event.
Kennedy, do you want to just quickly pop your email in the chat?
Yes, let's do that. Typing under pressure. There we go. So if anyone does have any questions, please feel free to drop me an email and I'll do my best to support you. Thank you, everybody.